Andy, is this a day of cats or whatever? Is this the tabby cat
It
interview
sure is.
going on here?
I feel so left out. I just have a goldfish. Well, how's it going, guys?
Great. How are you?
Super Bowl Sunday, pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Pretty happy to have you guys on.
I'm letting you know that I was just in Boston not too long ago, and it was right at the start of the regular season, right? And so I'm in Boston, and I'm in this parking garage, and I pull up to this, this thing, the gate or whatever. I give this guy my ticket, and he sees that I'm from Wisconsin, and he doesn't say anything else. He just looks at me and he goes, "Yeah, you guys ain't that good."
Yeah, welcome to
He
New
didn't say
England, man.
Packers, he didn't say Patriots, he didn't say nothing, but I knew exactly what he was talking about.
Nah, nah, dude, the nationalism is brutal here. It is a force to be reckoned with.
That Bucks Celtics on Tuesday for the number one spot in the East. That's going to be rough. So it's going to be a
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Well, listen, man, it's awesome to have you guys on. Beatallica, we are here. Um, so I just want to ask, like, let's just get this out of the way, all right? What led up to the formation of Beatallica? Like, what had to fall into place?
Well, first of all, what had to fall into place was a festival in Milwaukee that I do the booking for called Spoof Fest. Okay, now this thing's been going on for 30 years or something like that. And we did a spoof of Metallica in 2001. Now it's just where bands get together and we say they emulate and desecrate their favorite artists. So like Andy and I, Jimmy, we've done the Ramones together, and we've done George Thoroughbred and the Delaware Destroyers. Not George Thorogood, but George Thoroughbred. And things. So it's things. It's like costumes and comedy and things like that. So we
Yeah.
did Metallica one year, but it was on April Fool's Day that year. So we said, okay, well, what would Metallica do as an April Fool's joke? And so me and our former guitar player, who helped found the band with me, we put out 50 CDs, burned CDs, just back when all this stuff was first starting out. And we just handed them out at the event and kind of thought nothing of it. And then with the whole rise of BitTorrent and internet and piracy
Napster.
and everything else, then it started just kind of creeping into existence. Long story short, Metallica got word of it when they were on tour with Saint Anger, and interviewers were coming up to them asking them about us.
Wow, really? That's
And
so funny you
Yeah,
bring that up.
and then Metallica contacted me saying, "Who are you?" so,
That's so funny because Metallica kind of started with like the tape trading, and
yeah,
it's
all
really
no
funny
life for
how
leather.
Beatallica almost started with like the CD trading.
Right.
So that's a funny parallel. So you said, so if you talk to Hetfield and Lars and the whole gang, because I saw on your website that like Kirk said something about you guys. Like have you personally like had conversations with them about Beatallica?
Yeah, I mean, when we do the legal stuff, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much between myself and Lars and their legal contact at Q Prime, their management. But I mean, last time that they were in town, I mean, Andy and I, we hung out in Milwaukee with them and Rob from Machine Head, and
Yeah.
you know, so that was all good. I know they're coming back into town. It's next August, right? Andy,
Yeah,
what?
they're doing
I'm not
like
exactly sure the date.
Yeah,
yeah, they're doing like 2 shows a city
yeah. I
in
don't think they're doing Milwaukee.
2024.
I think they're doing
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah, yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
So we'll have to
Um,
go hit up Soldier.
There you go.
yeah. Well, that's sweet. That's really awesome. And I assume you haven't talked to anyone from the Beatles,
Have you,
unless
Andy? And not told anybody?
Ringo hasn't reached out or anything.
I wish.
No, no. They know what it is, you know. But I mean, they're the two remaining members of the living Beatles, and they don't need to be They don't need to be hanging with us.
They're doing their own thing. I feel like they've done enough.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I'm glad there hasn't been any like legal stuff with you guys and Metallica, as you know, Metallica with the whole Napster thing and whatnot. Has like Apple or any like Beatles representatives like contacted you guys at all?
Yeah, I mean, the past history was, there was um th there was a summit meeting between ourselves and Metallica and Sony, and Peter Paterno, their Metallica's legal, got involved, and he's from Wisconsin actually. And we got to figure it out. It's still always kind of a touchy subject, and we don't want to, don't want to upset the gorilla.
Yeah.
So it's like, and Andy can probably describe it a little bit more. When we were writing this stuff for the Devolver album, the way that we started composing not just lyrics but musical passages and stuff, I would come in with some things, and then Andy would say, "Hey, no, I'm hearing this." I mean, Andy, tell him. Like with number 9 off of that record, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
So with the licensing and all of that, the legalities of all those things, not every song can be used.
Okay.
For the lack of a better way to say it, I guess, or a shorter way to say it. And sometimes it wasn't necessarily, hey, we're going to use this Beatles riff. We're going to use instead a riff that has like stylistically, it's like it. Or drum beats you can't copyright. So there might be, he's playing a guitar riff that isn't, it's an original riff. It might be somewhat of a mashup, but it's an original riff. But then now I can lay some drums down that have a feel of a Beatles song or of, something thrashier or whatever it might be. And then just kind of blending all those things together. And then, vocal harmonies or again, stylistic type things that lend into to kind of walk around some of those copyright
gray areas,
things, so
yeah.
you had to get a little creative,
Yeah, we get people writing in about the record, and it's like, man, I don't hear this Beatle thing. I'm just like, well, listen, it's not just saying, hey, you're all of a sudden just gonna hear whatever song we haven't used yet,
right.
Within You Without You, you're not just all of a sudden going to hear that, because that's not what Beatallica has ever done.
Right. It's not this Beatles song, this Metallica song, and then it's both. It's not that at all.
Yeah. Well, because it's like at that point, just listen to the Beatles. If you're
or Metallica,
or Metallica.
Yeah.
Now that's interesting what you were saying about the legal stuff. Are there any like Beatles or Metallica songs that are like completely off the table, like never gonna touch? Would you mind sharing some of those? Or
yeah, well, here's the thing: that's like, you can do whatever you want live. Okay. So I can't remember the last show that we didn't play While My Guitar Deathly Creeps.
Yeah.
But it's never going to come out on record. Or we did a European tour last time, and we did a song called Something Else Matters. Not Nothing Else Matters, but Something Else. Can't put it out. Now, the commonality of that is those are both George Harrison songs post Sgt. Pepper's. And that gets into different licensors and publishing and all those other things. And our former label had a relationship with the estate of George Harrison, and they still said no, and so it's okay. All right. We're not going to piss anyone off, you know what I mean? But we can sure play them live. And so now, when was the last time we didn't play Creeps, Andy? You know what I mean?
Well, we played most of it up in West Bend.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome. Now, Metallica's putting out a new record, 72 Seasons. How closely have you guys looked at that? Or have you already thought about potential songs Is it like until the album comes out, like I'll listen to it, and if something pops in my head, I'll put it up? Like, what is that process like?
I mean, how much have you listened to that, Andy?
The new one I haven't heard. The last album I bought that. I've listened to that a bunch, and in fact, when that last album came out, kind of like what you were saying, as far as you know, do you listen to it, and if something pops in your head, do you use it? Um, I think that's always going on, whether it's new material or older stuff. And I know with the last album, we ended up having a song on our new album that is using "Here Comes Revenge"
Yeah.
by Metallica. That we've used that in a mashup. So that was pretty quick right after that album came out. We were working on a mashup with that one. So
I
um,
know. I mean, I've not personally, you know, sat down with Lux Eterna and said, okay, I want to do this. Um, that time will come, I'm sure. But I mean, I guess one thing really to state is that we have a new record out, and it was kind of put out like right at the tail end of COVID, and so we've not done a lot of touring on the record. So this is the time for that record. This is the
Yeah.
time for the Devolver album. We're not interested in writing new stuff, At least
Yeah.
I'm not right now. Um, but that'll come, and we have other stuff that we already have recorded and in the can and didn't get put onto the record
mhm.
that we could
Mm.
put out, and live stuff from past gigs and tours. So we have the material, even without touching the upcoming Metallica record. But I mean, I think um, the most split decision we ever did when we recorded Masterful Mystery Tour, we were in the studio, literally recording in the studio, and Metallica put out um, The Day That Never Comes
Oh, wow.
off of their album when they released it. And I got on the horn to our label and I said, stop with your final wish list on clearances. Add this song because we're writing it literally right now. And they got the clearance on it. Um, and to this day, uh, it is the one song by Beatallica that we have never played live
Wow.
out of all of our catalog. We've never played the song live.
Wow. Do you
That's
plan
tomorrow.
to?
That's Tomorrow Never Comes.
Yeah, Tomorrow Never Comes. Yeah, yeah. Are you planning to ever play it live, or is it just like, are there just those songs that maybe it's the composition or it's just too much to rehearse? But is there any reason why?
Um, we were gonna do that. Weren't we gonna? Were we gonna
Yeah, we
do
were
that?
gonna do that in Chicago last summer.
Mm,
Yeah. How come we didn't do it? What
I
happened?
think it was I think it was just a timing thing. When we got back off tour, we had like 2 weeks before that show, and with uh, Dr. Robert up in Minnesota, I think we didn't have the rehearsal time to be able to
Okay.
really put it together and play it out. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's
One of
what
the reasons
hung
why we
us
were
up
gonna
on that.
play it is because we were doing a show. Brandon? You know who a band is called The Skull?
I'm not sure if I'm familiar. No.
They used to be in a band called Trouble. They're from Chicago.
Hmm.
A doom band. Friends of ours. Their singer had passed away, and we were part of their remembrance gig.
Okay.
At Beatallica because their singer was a big Beatles fan. And so we were going to do that song. But then our bass player lives up in the Twin Cities. He's 5 hours away from us. You know what I mean? And it's like, man, we're not going to get this done, and we don't want to do it crappily. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. Totally understandable. But interesting. Yeah, I'll check them out. Are they on streaming, or is there
Oh,
any
I'm sure they
place?
are. If you
Cool.
just look up The Skull,
The Skull. Okay. I'll totally
yeah,
check them out.
yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
If you're into the Doom thing, man, they've been doing it
Oh
forever.
yeah.
I mean, we mentioned them in right away to kick off our song called Hesh Today, which is off the Revolver album. Like literally, they appear right in the first couple lyrics.
Mhm.
Oh wow.
You know, so yeah, they are. I've been listening to them since I was in.
And that song was written. The lyrics were written before he passed, and before any of the benefit show or anything like that came about too.
Yeah.
So
So we are true believers in that band, man, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'll totally check them out. Now, you mentioned before, like your record label and whatnot. Has there been any pressure where it's like, hey, can you make this song a little more Metallica? Can you make this song a little more Beatles-esque? Or do they really just let you like kind of do whatever you want?
Yeah, I mean, you don't ever remember hearing anything like that, do you?
no,
Yeah, because I don't. I mean, I never got it personally. I mean, any contact I've had with either of our two labels, they've said, "Go do your thing. We'll worry about it later."
right.
That's awesome. Because
And
I do hear stories of, all these bands and the label will like almost want to control their sound and whatnot. So I
Mhm.
wasn't sure if there was that push and pull between Metallica and the Beatles. But that's cool.
like,
You guys can just do it your thing.
Mhm.
yeah, I
Um,
mean, Metallica gives us a blank check. You know what I mean? They said they do whatever you want.
that's
You know,
awesome.
yeah. I mean, they've been more than
Mhm.
congenial about all this. We run everything through them. We let them know we not just music, lyrics, image and likeness, um, any sort of merch,
Yeah.
Mhm.
anything like that.
Yeah, like
That all
t-shirt
goes.
designs and
Yeah,
album artwork and all that stuff. Yeah, Metallica's been absolutely phenomenal
yeah.
as far as working with us and letting us do whatever we want to do. So
That's really awesome to hear. Now I'm curious about this. I know you guys have had your past with Keith Mustaine or whatever. Has there ever been any other thrash classic rock bands you guys have encountered? Are you guys the only one to combine thrash and classic rock? Because there are other spoof like Max Sabbath is one.
mhm.
Oakley Dokley, I believe you guys toured with.
We toured with them. Yep.
Yeah. Are there any other like kind of genre-ized bands in your circle, or are you guys like the only really one?
I have my
We're the
opinions on
best.
it. Yeah. I mean, I guess I would say that I am I am a firm believer in that no one is doing this sort of genre slash art form slash approach like how we're doing it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think there are other bands out there, and like how and you're alluding to earlier, it's like you have two cars, and like here's one car, here's another car. One car goes into this car stops, so this one starts going. That's not what we do. Um, our cars are in a fiery wreck the whole time that we're doing. They're
Yeah.
twisted together and mangled, So you really have to listen, and you
Mhm.
have to know each band's material to fully get what's going on. Now, some of the benefits of not knowing is that then you can learn something.
Mhm.
You can learn about a band or you can learn about a song or something like that. But I mean, with Oakley, they weren't combining music, right? I mean,
Yeah,
they
they
were
weren't a
combining
mashup, right?
image.
Yeah, they were just doing like death metal with a cool
Yeah, the
image.
Ned
Very
Flanders
interesting.
theme.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Um,
but
And
yeah,
Matt
it would.
Sabbath, I mean, they do Sabbath.
yeah.
They do any Sabbath related thing along with
Well,
the
with a
image
fast
that's
food.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right.
lyrically but I mean musically, I don't think that there's a mashup with anything with Max Sabbath. I think theirs is more lyric and image.
Not at
Mhm.
all. Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
and what's great about you guys is there is not only is there that, but as you said earlier, there's like an originality with it as well. Like you guys are writing almost your own riffs and your own like rhythms in it,
Mhm.
which is so awesome and like really cool. So pretty awesome. I did actually interview Max Sabbath, and
okay.
it was like the most cryptic interview I've ever done. Because I was like, "Do you have any like legal? Has there been like any legal issues?" And the guy was like, "I have no clue what you're even talking about." I
I
was
mean,
like,
with
how, I was like,
with
how did Max Sabbath start? He's like, it started in like 1976. I was like in a basement. I'm like, what the hell?
right, right, yeah. I mean, with
Yeah.
us, it's like we want to write, and so there's original writing that's infused into just about everything that we do, and we're proud of it. I mean, the first time that we put out an original group of songs was on the Winter Plunder Band EP. Limited amount of copies, 4 songs. So there's the Lennon and the McCartney Christmas songs that are on it. And then we have 2 original Beatallica songs on it, and one there's a video for. It's called Holiday for Holiday. That's us. That's our stuff. And so it's like when we were writing the Devolver record, it's like we're doing this, and it's like, okay, I'm hearing this, I want to do this, and I'd come into rehearsals or whatever, and I'd play something for Andy, and Andy's just like, okay, I'm gonna take it here. It's like, great. We all play in multiple bands, not just metal bands. So like our songwriting structures that go between the 4 of us is very extensive. And the influences that we have, and we want to use them. This isn't just, it's not a cover band. It's not just drawing from Beatles or Metallica. I mean, even when it comes down to our licensing for the Devolver album, it specifically spells it out in the licensing. These songs were written by the 4 members of Beatallica, as well as Hetfield Ulrich. It's like we are listed as companions with Metallica, and they agree and they accept it. And it's like, that's what makes it even cooler.
Yeah.
We can do stuff with Metallica and they're totally cool with it, with us writing our own shit. I would not want to do this,
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think this makes sense.
I hope to see like a lot more original stuff. I know we're sitting with the new stuff right now, but really looking forward to like more original stuff and that like blend, like having more original stuff blended with Metallica and the Beatles, because the stuff we've gotten already is fantastic. I just want to say.
What do you have? I mean, as far as hard copies of music by us?
Oh, I unfortunately don't have any. You guys don't have any vinyl, right? You guys are mainly CD guys. Yeah, I'm unfortunately a vinyl addict.
I see that.
Which, yeah, as you can see. Could we ever expect a Beatallica record at any point? Is that too much to ask? Is it a possible thing?
I love it.
That's a label thing with goods and services, man. It's like,
yeah,
we want to, and the label's totally fine with it, but it's so far behind, on pressing all that stuff, and it's like,
it's a whole thing. Like I've talked to like some of the local guys who have pressed their stuff, and they're like, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Just because there's only a few plants like in the US. It's not like there's a ton everywhere. Like it is a whole thing, and like you have to get in touch with, and it's like emails and so much money spent. Definitely, I don't blame you guys for sticking with the CDs.
Yeah, that's
way cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, that's a label issue too. That kind of really has nothing to do with us, And I know other indie bands overseas, and they were waiting like 16 months for their vinyl.
Well,
ridiculous.
Well, and with the new album, the Devolver album that we have, there's original material on that. It's not all just mashup material. There are original Beatallica compositions on that. There's also, as far as the licensing and what songs we can or can't use, the other thing and Beatallica has done this in the past on previous albums, where we take something that Metallica had covered and use that as some source material. So it's not just Beatles, Metallica, it's, kind of all things involved. So,
yeah, which that's awesome, man. And I can't wait to hear more of it. I'll definitely have to. So you guys are selling CDs on your website. If you guys want to plug some Bandcamp, cool. And you guys are on Twitter, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Awesome.
And all the streaming services, whether it be, Apple Music or whatever, for download or to listen to. It's all out on all those platforms as well.
That's actually where I discovered you guys.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay.
No worries. I just wanted to say that's how I discovered you guys, actually, through Spotify.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Cool.
Because we got our old videos on there, and just like other PSAs, and we'll have more video stuff coming up. Messages about
are the live videos of different things that aren't on the albums, are those aren't on the Beatallica YouTube, correct, James?
What do you mean?
Is it like the songs that like say While My Guitar Deathly Creeps, since we can't license that, we don't necessarily have that on our
No, but
Beatallica site.
if anyone did like a YouTube search, if you
Right.
went to YouTube and you typed in that song
Yeah,
title,
you can find it.
it's everyone with their phone
Right.
at a gig,
Mm-hmm.
recording it and
Right.
posting it. Some
Right.
of that stuff, it's just
Yeah.
like, we have no control over. It's like if someone's going to be over there and they're posting stuff. Um, I think there even is a live video from, it's somewhere in Europe, Germany, somewhere, with that song "Something Else Matters" that someone had recorded.
I can't confirm it was bootlegged.
Yeah,
That's how I heard all the
yeah.
unreleased stuff, which I didn't realize. Now as we wrap up here, I'm just curious, like, have there been any like gatekeepy Beatles or Metallica fans who just don't get it, who are just way too far up their own ass that you guys had to deal with?
I run into a number.
Oh yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my experience with it, most people that they don't seem to, at least to my face, hate on it. But there'll be, definitely like a couple that comes to the show and she doesn't know any Metallica and he doesn't know any Beatles, but they both had a blast,
Yeah.
and that's great, because then you're, like James was saying before, you don't have to know all the material. You can learn something new. But if you do, you really start to see the intricacies of like, some riff that is going on in there while everything else is happening. It's like, oh, look at that. That's, and then it's, on to the next thing. But yeah, I haven't really heard,
Yeah.
complaints about, or, why aren't you doing this or, whatever. But
Yeah, and the only reason why I bring it up is just because Metallica fans could just be so gatekeepy. And I feel like,
I've had Beatles fans be more than that.
really, that's actually kind of surprising.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Wow.
getting way into it because we don't have time, but I can give you guys more than several stories of verbal threats,
Jesus.
verbal violent threats that if I step foot in Camden again, in the UK.
Wow. Jesus Christ.
I've had a handler take me out of a situation because he saw that something was about to happen. They've shooed me
Wow.
away, and I had no idea. And it's like, nope, you want to come this way because this guy's waiting for you with something.
Jesus. Well, I can assure you guys that you're very welcomed here in the States. Hey, is there any dates us fans can look forward to? Any tours? Any shows in the works? Yeah.
Where are you located?
New England.
Yeah.
Please come to Boston or Worcester.
Give us what's today? What's today, Andy? The 10th?
12th.
Right,
Super
12th.
Bowl Sunday.
Yeah. It's February.
Give us 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Okay, cool.
To
And
be able to announce.
yeah. Are there any places you guys would like to tour that you haven't yet?
Oh God, sure. Yeah.
Japan?
Yeah, we were this close one time to going in, and the tour company folded.
Oh, really?
I was so bummed. Well, I mean, our guitar player Gerg, his stepmom lives in Australia, and we have a good relationship with some folks down under, and she lives in Brisbane. So
Cool.
little Aussie New Zealand tour would be super straight with me.
That's great. Yeah, and it's funny you guys say that because Megadeth was actually going to tour Australia, but they can't because of financial issues. So if you guys can get down there, that'd be really awesome because they need metal more than anything.
Some buddies, there's another band from Kenosha, Wisconsin called Jungle Rot.
Yeah.
Like a grindcore death.
Yes.
Band.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had that whole Aussie New Zealand tour booked and they couldn't do it, and so I didn't know about the Megadeth thing.
Yeah, wild. That like Megadeth can't afford to tour Australia.
Well, I just
And
saw a
That's wild.
story earlier this week. Striper put out a post on their Facebook. Michael Sweet put out, and he's just like, "Look, man, we are trying to do this as best we can." you know, um, and that goes for us too. I mean, we have plans for this year before too
Mhm.
long. You know, I'm ready to go.
I've already got my vacation time from work approved and ready to go. So
well, that's great news. That's a great start.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the band is going to be ready to go. You know,
Awesome.
um, if all the players involved are ready to go, then great. And we just have to stay tight-lipped about something, like I said, for about 6 weeks. So.
right.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Real pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for troubleshooting all this stuff too.
Yeah, it was, I don't know what was up with the Wi-Fi, but we made it. We did
Yep.
it. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm Brandon Baddock, and this has been Disturbing the Priest.